Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to the first official episode and 90th episode overall, but the first episode of a Colts podcast. It's like we're the only one. I'm Brandon, I'm your host, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. Welcome to your show. Our first one is a Colts podcast. We are the educated fans, still, always and forever, still here to give you some education. But, buddy, let's get it going here. How are you doing? How's the 2 days it's been since I've talked to you?
Yeah, it's been going well, man. I'm excited for the Colts to get over this loss and really see what we can do against the Rams. It's going to be a tough matchup, that's for sure. The Rams put a hell of a show on Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears, and the Colts are still raveling a little bit. They're trying to get everything together. The offensive line, the defense, going to try to have a better performance. It's going to be another good game in Lucas Oil this weekend. How about you, man?
Oh, it's going. It's stressful. Stressful moving and getting work set back up and doing this and switching to an entirely new streaming platform. If you're joining us from any of the Horseshoe Huddle channels, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And, of course, our usual fans, glad to have you back as always. But, yeah, it's been a stressful few days. I think now that the transition, I feel like, is complete now. You know, it's just going to be little tweaks to the show here and there. Stuff you guys are going to really enjoy, I'm hoping. Real quick, I do just want to ask you guys to please, since we have some new handles and whatnot, go follow us at a Colts podcast. I mean, it's as simple as it gets now, guys. You hear your friends talking, about loving podcasts and, they like the Colts or vice versa, something, hey, check out a Colts podcast. They're going to say a Colts podcast. Yeah, just look that up. There they are. Twitter, Instagram, at a Colts podcast, and Facebook, just a Colts podcast. Go take a look at us on there, guys. Andrew, are you ready to get started? We got a big one this week. Colts Rams. Let me pull up the line here. But we did not look good this past week. Our offensive line looked bad last week. And Aaron Donald's coming to town. I don't know if you heard, but he's probably, definitely the best defensive lineman in football coming up against an offensive line that just did not look like they could handle, the worst defensive lineman in the league. So some big stuff coming up. We have a line of 3.5-point spread in the favor of the Rams, minus 195, Colts plus 165, over under set at 48.5. So where do you want to start?
I mean, that's going to be the big matchup that we're all looking at, is this Colts offensive line versus Aaron Donald and the defensive line of the Los Angeles Rams. It just wasn't good enough last Sunday, plain and simple. I mean, from Julian Davenport giving up 2 sacks and 8 pressures to Braden Smith giving up. Braden Smith gave up more sacks and more QB hits in one game than he did all of 2020. So it's pretty crazy to see that it's time to bounce back. And I think they will bounce back. That's not going to be the norm for this Colts defensive or this Colts offensive line. They just need to come together. I think having Quentin Nelson out and Ryan Kelly out for a good portion of the preseason and of training camp, that really messed with them. They didn't have as good of continuity as they normally do. So I think they will bounce back, but they're going to have a hell of a challenge in doing that against the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year in Aaron Donald.
How many does he have now? 2?
I think he's got at least 3.
It's 2 or 3. The record's 3, I think.
He's
pretty sure the record's 3.
He's got 2 or 3, and I think one thing that we'd love to have back is Eric Fisher. I mean, Eric Fisher, I think, is close. He was a limited participant in practice today. If we can have Eric Fisher in there at left tackle and get Julian Davenport out of there, I think all Colts fans will be screaming hallelujah at that. Julian Davenport was abysmal on Sunday, and getting Eric Fisher in there. Now, we're probably not going to see a Pro Bowl Eric Fisher, obviously. First game back from a torn Achilles, we have to have some realistic expectations. But if he's able to be out there, the Colts don't have to necessarily put as much help to that side, which I don't think they put enough help to that side anyway last game.
Mm.
So that's something that we're going to need to see. And then Braden Smith, this is going to be a big one. Braden Smith didn't play well, but Braden Smith is still on a normal day a top 10 right tackle in this league. And on Monday he came in complaining of a foot injury and he did not practice today.
Another foot.
The Colts are going to monitor it throughout the week, but it's definitely something to watch because if he's down, it's probably going to be Matt Pryor, who isn't very good. The Colts traded for him at the end of the trade camp. I'm just going to keep it simple. He's not very good. So if Braden Smith can't go and Matt Pryor's in there, we're in trouble. If Braden Smith and Eric Fisher can't go, it's going to be a rough day for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that would not be ideal. Do we know if Eric Fisher went, would we throw Davenport over to right tackle if Smith couldn't go?
It's possible. Davenport has been the guy that's been mostly left tackle. And when Frank Reich was asked today, if Braden Smith can't go, who would it be? He specifically mentioned Matt Pryor. So my guess it would be Matt Pryor that gets to start at right tackle.
All right. So, I don't know, Andrew. Aaron Donald, we love a little help over on that left side.
Right.
Quentin Nelson, I think, is good enough to handle him on his own. But the problem is Aaron Donald's not going to leave it up to Quentin Nelson. The Rams defense isn't going to leave it up to Quentin Nelson. They're going to do things to keep him away from Quentin, as well as sending in. I don't know if they're a big blitzing team, but they could send extra guys too. And Quentin could throw off his assignment. I don't know, all the technicalities of the offensive lineman assignments, but I do know they're not just going to say, hey, why don't we throw our best guy up against their best guy just to see who wins? They don't care. They just want to go sack Carson Wentz.
Right. We probably won't see Aaron Donald go up against Quentin Nelson that much. The Rams aren't stupid. They know who Quentin Nelson is. A lot of times we're going to see Aaron Donald probably line up against Mark Lewinsky. They're going to try to get Aaron Donald against the lesser of the two guards. And so you probably see Ryan Kelly. That's probably where he's going to go over to help Mark Lewinsky most of the time and let Quentin kind of handle the rest. So yeah, I mean, we all want to see that heavyweight matchup of of Aaron Donald and Quentin Nelson, but I think that it's going to be not as prevalent as we think it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. Not the only problem this week, Andrew. The Rams defense, good squad, good unit. They were real good last year, one of the best in the league. And now, I mean, Carson Wentz has to deal with it on top of trying to deal with that, defensive line. How can Carson Wentz attack the Rams defense?
I think one thing is going to be, and something that we really didn't see too much last week because of the amount of pressure, is I think more play action and more bootleg stuff for the Colts could be used. Get Carson Wentz outside the pocket a little bit. I know the Colts want to take more deep shots down the field. There just really wasn't too many of them last week against Seattle. Seattle was playing a lot of cover two and a lot of keeping two deep safeties to try to eliminate those big plays. And it certainly happened because the Colts only had one play longer than 20 yards. It was the 24-yard strike to Paris Campbell. So I think that's what the Colts want to try to use. Another thing will be is they really just establishing the run. And again, I think this falls on the offensive line as well. The offensive line can help to establish the run, get Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines some chunk running plays, because the Colts really didn't have any explosive running plays last week against Seattle either. That opens things up, and it gets this Rams defense on their heels a little bit, so Carson Wentz can do his thing. I think we'll see a better Carson Wentz this week, just because that first game, even though he played solid, there were definitely some areas he could have worked on. So I think Carson Wentz will be able to settle in this game, and we're going to have to see what he does, especially with All-Pro Jalen Ramsey in that secondary, because he's going to be itching to pick off Carson Wentz and get a big turnover.
You know what? Carson Wentz probably will throw his first interception of the year. And Jalen Ramsey very well might be the one that gets him. But I mean, we have a lot of weapons, Andrew. We had a Kylan Granson that was underutilized last week. I mean, how many snaps did he take? 6? He was on the field.
Took 7.
7. Okay. See, I was close. That's not enough for a guy that was, 1, really involved in camp, 2, drafted so early, and 3, a guy that is an athletic freak at the tight end position in an offense that loves to use tight ends. I just don't understand, the lack of utilization there. If there was maybe, some kind of injury we weren't aware of or what it is, but I think Kylen Granson being used as an additional weapon for this offense could help out a lot.
And I think maybe it could have came down to that they needed the blocking tight ends in there to really help out,
Yeah.
even though they didn't put them over there much on Julian Davenport's side. The Seahawks were bringing pressure from all angles. So to keep a Jack Doyle, because Jack Doyle was kept in a lot during that game to help really protect Carson Wentz because of that heavy blitz defense that the Seattle Seahawks have. So when you have Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle and they're big in blocking and can really use that as an asset, I think that maybe that's why Kylen Granson really didn't see the field as much. I do think it's going to just depend on the matchups. If we have a defense that likes to blitz a lot, we need a little bit more protection. You'll probably see Mo Alley Cox in there a little bit more. If against the defense that you don't have to worry about that as much and you want to spread it out a little bit more, I think then we'll see Kylen Granson in there a little bit more. Yeah. So again, I think it all just depends on the matchups. I really hope that Kylen Granson gets in more because I think he can be a mismatch, especially down the field and down the seam, because that speed and the separation that he can generate, it's definitely a hard on linebackers and safeties to cover that. So Kylen Granson can be used and add an extra element to the Colts offense. Obviously that's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, I agree. And Andrew, I still want to talk about Carson Wentz right now. I do. Usually I'm the one telling you let's move it along, right? But I watched some of your film breakdown today on Twitter, and one of the plays you mentioned, that Carson Wentz just had no time. And he had a wide open Michael Pittman on one play, had Nyheim Hines, he probably could have gotten it to. Watching, and it's hard to say for sure. It looked like he might have had time to get it to Pittman or get rid of the football before he did take a sack. Do you think, and I know we talked about this already, so let me word it differently. I don't want to talk about Carson Wentz holds the ball too long. Does Carson Wentz need to get rid of the football a little more quickly this week to have success against the Rams D?
I think the Colts can incorporate that into their offense a little bit. I don't necessarily thought he held the ball too long. I mean, there were definitely some plays where, yes, he was maybe a little bit hesitant, but when you're in your first game back with a new team, kind of new offense, new teammates, that can be expected, honestly. Yeah. I do want to see him speed up the process a little bit on that specific play that you're talking about, I should say, as soon as he turned right to where Pittman was open, he was getting blasted by the Seattle defender that ran.
So his eyes just weren't on Pittman when he made that break.
Correct. So because the play starts out when you're looking to the left, you got three receivers to the left, and Pittman's kind of that fourth option because you start out with your primary receiver and then you just work basically left to right. It makes it a quick read. So Nyheim Hines was open for maybe a second. There was a corner in the flat that might have made a break on the ball and stopped him short. But Nyheim Hines is a little bowling ball. I mean, I think eventually you got to trust that he's going to pick up that 2 to 3 yards after the catch and get that first down. So it was just bad execution all around.
Let's make this the last point on this specific subject. Andrew Stevens saying he wants to see some early shots, big shots down the field to loosen up the Rams defense a little. You think that's going to be an effective strategy?
I think it can. Today. I think it can be, especially off of play action. Obviously, I think the Rams kind of saw what the Seattle Seahawks did, and they'll probably want to try to emulate that a little bit to limit those big plays that the Colts offense can generate. But I mean, I would like to see Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman get more chances at those deep balls down the field to open up this offense a little bit. And again, that'll just open up things for Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines when running the ball as well.
Welcome to the stream. If you're new in, we welcome you. We're glad you're here. Don't be afraid to throw some stuff in the comments, like Steven here, some, constructive stuff, or Tyler here, a longtime listener with nothing constructive to say but Dolphins. But yeah, ask questions, make your points about what we're talking about in the show. We're glad you're here. We want you to be a part of it. Andrew, let's move along here. Matt Stafford, boy. Dude had a sleeve on last week against the Bears. Slow start in the first half, but in the second half, you would have thought this dude has been playing with the Rams for years. What can we do against him? Because they have weapons, and our defense did not look good.
Oh, Matty Stafford looked pretty good on
That Stafford
Sunday
looked
night.
real good.
Yeah, so I think he's rejuvenized with this team. It allows him to throw the deep shots, and I think that's what the Colts defense needs to do. The Colts defense. I mean, we just played Matthew Stafford last year against when he was on the Lions, and the Colts defense had some success against Matthew Stafford.
Colts defense had some success against the Lions defense or offense.
Right. That's correct. So you gotta, I think you can try to emulate some of those things last year. Well, one thing we did is you saw the Colts get a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, when he's under pressure, that's when he tends to be inaccurate. That's how it is with most quarterbacks. So if we could generate more pressure, especially more pressure than last week, because I felt like the Colts defensive line didn't do a good enough job of really creating that pressure on Russell Wilson. Again, force the Rams, because one of the things that the Rams did successfully on Sunday night was their big plays. I mean, the shots down the field to Cooper Kupp, to guys like Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. Those deep shots is really what took the air out of the Bears defense. So if the Colts can force them to dink and dunk down the field and not necessarily take those big shots, then I think you can kind of frustrate Stafford a little bit. And again, frustrate him, get that pressure on him, and force him into some mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do, Andrew. If we play like we did last week, we're not going to do well. But I think it'd be outrageous to expect the Colts to play quite as poorly as they did last week. The defense is a strong unit. We expected them to play well. And I said that in the recap episode after the game, I think I'm more on, glasses half full side of things. If your team the units on your team didn't play very well, that you expected the exact opposite out of them, and the ones that you weren't sure about played well, Carson Wentz, I think that's a good sign for what is to come. That's obviously not good for that one game, but I think looking forward, the defense and the offensive line are units we can normally rely on, and I expect them to do much better this week than they did last week. But this team, in my opinion, about the same amount of weapons as the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's going to give the Colts defense the biggest amount of trouble is it could be Cooper Kupp. Honestly, Cooper Kupp, it seems like he's one of those quick slot receivers that can take the top off the defense at any time, and he's a great route runner. So the Colts, especially with the Colts zone defense, they're going to really have to be on top of things, clean up the tackling, especially the Colts tackling was abysmal up to their standards on Sunday, and we've already kind of seen a different approach to that today in practice. The linebackers were focusing a lot more on the fundamentals and more technique tackling than they normally do. So that they know what's at stake and they know what they did bad. They're getting back to the basics and they're trying to correct it, which is good. But like, again, what I said is if you can create pressure on Matthew Stafford and get him flustered, then I think it takes these weapons out of it. So the whole key is really to be able to get that pressure on Matthew Stafford. And I'm talking about DeForest Buckner. I'm talking about Grover Stewart, who didn't have his best game. Kwity Paye is going to be going up against Andrew Whitworth, another huge left tackle with a lot of experience. Al-Qadim Muhammad, Taekwon Lewis, Kamoko Toure if he's back. I want to see Ben Banogu get some more snaps. Hopefully the Colts can use the NASCAR package and let Ben Banogu show what he's got. It's this defensive line I think is going to be the most critical. Last week I said it was probably on the secondary, and secondary had a bad day. This week I really think it's on the defensive line. They really need to create that pressure on Matthew Stafford.
Let's talk about the secondary, Andrew. That's one of our main points. Rams wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. They definitely used their running backs in the passing game a little bit last week. What are we to expect out of the Colts secondary, who, I mean, I want to say they were the worst of the defense, but I mean, that goes around the list, except for maybe the line. The linebackers stunk. What do you think about our secondary against the Rams wide receivers?
it's again, it's going to be a big test because while maybe they don't have a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett, they've got very solid pros. I already mentioned Cooper Cup,
Great point.
Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. Those guys can definitely make an impact. Tyler Higbee at tight end. So the Colts defense, I think they need to tackle. They need to make sure that their tackling is in order, and we really need to see a rebound from guys like Kari Willis, who had probably one of his worst games as a Colt in his career. Julian Blackman was out of position in some plays. And we'll see about Xavier Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes is supposed to practice this week, and we could possibly see him on the field.
That'd be some help.
Which would definitely be some help. I didn't necessarily think Rocky Sin had a terrible game.
That's the crazy part. Rock had an okay game.
Yeah, I really didn't notice Rocky Sin having a bad game. It was more of the guy. I mean, I expected Kari Willis to have a good game. Kari Willis had one of his worst. Kenny Moore missed multiple tackles. Kenny Moore was really hard on himself after the game. Rocky Sin didn't have a bad game. I mean, he didn't have a great game, but there wasn't anything that really stood out as being Rock's fault. So I think, but if we can get Xavier Rhodes, get a normal performance out of Kari Willis and Julian Blackman, how we expect them to play, and not that terrible performance, then I really think this Colts secondary can go up against these Rams wide receivers.
Yeah, if we get Xavier Rhodes back, that makes me feel a lot better. I don't think Kari Willis or Julian Blackman have as bad of a game, and definitely not Kenny Moore as he did last week. Andrew, if we lose this week, 0-2, not fun. Skylar wants to know, if the Colts lose, will Andrew shave his head? My answer, I'll answer this for you, Andrew. The answer to that question is no. We still are not to the point, Skylar, where we're going to get Andrew to shave his head. However, there is some rumor out there about Banana Hammock and Andrew doing a bikini show for the, of course, we're with Sports Illustrated now. We're going to, bikini edition. But no, check that out on Twitter if you missed all that fun. Andrew, let's go into can we go to the X Factors of the game?
I want to touch on something real quick. I saw the comment that was put up by Steven again about Stafford not being nearly as mobile as Russell Wilson. And that's a great point. I think that makes it much easier for the Colts to contain Stafford, because I mean, Stafford
almost got home. The defensive line almost got home a few times last week, and did not quite get there.
And while Stafford isn't necessarily a statue in the pocket, it's easier. It's obviously easier to contain him in the pocket than it is Russell Wilson. So
correct.
I do think, especially when a quarterback like Russell Wilson or like Matthew Stafford, I'm going to come at this again. That pressure right up the middle, DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, that's going to be the key. You can get that pressure right in Matthew Stafford's face, so he can't step up. He's going to make inaccurate throws and poor decisions.
Andrew, Steven, that's a great point. I think that's going to be a huge difference, and that affects the defense at all levels, right? So if he's not running around as much and the defense is able to get home, that takes pressure off of the DBs a lot as well. So that's certainly going to be a big help. And I don't know, is the Rams offensive line worth a damn? I really don't know.
I mean, I would.
They're not ours.
I wouldn't say they're terrible, but they're.
Is that ancient artifact? Is that ancient artifact still playing? What's his Whitworth?
Andrew Whitworth. I mean, you say they're not ours, but ours had a terrible performance.
1 week, man. 1 week.
We're hoping they can bounce back. I wouldn't say that the Rams offensive line is terrible, but they're not one of the best in the league. I'll put it at that.
X Factors, Andrew, you went first last week. I'll go first this week just because somebody mentioned him. So 2 for here. I think the run game is going to be really important in this football game. The offensive line obviously has to help Carson out, but I think they can do that not just with better pass blocking, but yes, Whitworth is 65, but also with better run blocking and giving those running backs a chance to mix things up, give us some play action options mixed in with those big shots down the field. Now the defense doesn't know what's going on. So Andrew, Skylar asks again, Jonathan Taylor, how likely will he be to get the ball? He's going to get the ball a lot. The question is, can he do anything with it? I don't know that I would start him this week in fantasy personally, but he's probably good for a touchdown no matter what. So what do you think?
I think Jonathan Taylor has I mean, I'd start Jonathan Taylor. I have him one of my leagues. I'm going to start him, and here's
Yeah.
why: because I think there you saw multiple times Sunday night where David Montgomery had some success against this Rams defense. So I think Jonathan Taylor can have some success as well. And I this is what's going to be my X factor. I think it's pretty obvious. It's going to be the offensive line. It really is. If the Colts offensive line plays up to the level that I know, and I think we all know how the Colts offensive line can play, I think the Colts have a shot. If we see a repeat performance from Sunday, or we have Matt Pryor at right tackle and Julian Davenport at left tackle, it's going to be a struggle. This offensive line, I mean, just like Ballard says, the 3 technique drives this thing. This offensive line drives out on offense. It'll help Carson Wentz. It'll help this running game. It'll be able to hold up so the Colts can take deep shots to Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman. And by the way, I really want to see Frank Reich get Michael Pittman Jr. more involved. He talked about it today, how it's kind of hard with the wide receivers. I think we need to scheme up more things to get Michael Pittman Jr. the ball, especially in open space, because that guy runs like a madman, and it's hard to bring him down at 6'4" and 225 pounds. Get Michael Pittman Jr. the ball more and let him put his playmaking on display. But it's going to be the offensive line. The Colts will go as far as this line takes them today on Sunday.
Oh. Little LA Rams buddies. I believe that's the podcast giving us some good luck. Thanks so much. Hey, that's good. That's good advice to take, Skylar. If I think you shouldn't start him, you should probably start him. I am 0-3 in fantasy thus far this season, so probably the right way to go. Different story in gambling right now. Don't take any Andrew's picks. Hey, put your X factors in the chat right now. I'll throw some up there as well as your prediction, but let's move it along to your prediction, Andrew. We're going to win this football game. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, and I don't think Colts fans are going to like what I have to say. I think the Rams.
Oh no!
I'm going to pick the Rams. I think the offensive line. I think the offensive line does show up. I do think it's going to be a close game, but I do think that the Rams are. I mean, we both picked the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl. They're a very good team. Yep. So I think the Rams will win probably 31-24. I think it'll be probably about a touchdown difference. But yeah, I think the Rams do get the win.
Well, Andrew, this is the only game of the year. Last year was a lot later in the season. This is the only game of the year I'm picking against the Colts. I think for now. We'll see how the season goes. But as of right now, it's the only game I'm picking against the Colts. Unfortunately, the only thing that's like pulling me the other way is the defense has to play better. The offensive line has to play better. I believe those units are going to play better, and I think that can make a big difference. Steven made a really good point with Matt Stafford not being as mobile. I think the defense is going to have an easier time in that regard to do so. Sean McVay apparently on 1 p.m. Eastern game 17-1, so that's not a good stat. It's just so hard to picture us losing 2 at home in a row to start the season. Luckily, I think the Titans are going to lose again this week. I think. Am I forgetting? I don't know. We'll get there. So that'll help. But yeah, I got to pick the Rams and probably covering. I don't want to give you a score. I'd say probably the under is going to hit, and the Rams are going to cover the spread. So. Sorry.
I mean, we'll obviously be ecstatic if we're both wrong.
I hope so.
We don't want the Rams to win, but yeah, I think they're just too good of a team right now, and the Colts are still working through some things. So,
am I still going to pick the Colts in our official picks for Yahoo? Sure, probably. But I'm not going to click the other button. But yeah, it's a tough day.
Right. I mean, it's going to be a fun game, but it's definitely
good question. Are we going to be at Lucas Oil this weekend, Andrew?
We are. We'll both.
Yeah, we are. You better believe it. You like that? You like that? We're going to be there. Hope you guys are there too. We're going to be tailgating out by the Arby's parking lot down the road. Come say hi to us. No invite necessary. Come on down.
Come on down.
So prediction, we're both picking the Rams, so that sucks. Andrew, let's talk about some other Colts news, I guess.
Yeah, so let's start out with the injuries. The injuries to the Colts today. There was their first practice of the week. Guys that didn't practice were Darius Leonard with a little bit of an ankle. Didn't really get an update on that, but I mean he had an ankle injury throughout the preseason and training camp, so it could be just lingering from that. Obviously, Braden Smith didn't practice today. Xavier Rhodes didn't practice, still working his way back from a calf injury. Quentin Nelson listed with his foot and back. He was out again today. Maybe just giving him a little bit extra rest so that way he can be good for Sunday. Didn't hear about any setbacks coming out of the game. And then today, the limited participants were Eric Fisher with his Achilles. Kaboko Toure made his way back to practice from his groin injury. And then Akwiti Pay with a hamstring, Al-Qadim Muhammad with an ankle, both limited. I wouldn't think that those are anything too serious, kind of just being more precautionary than anything.
And I'm muted, so that's fun. Andrew, the Colts sign safety. This caused a little commotion on the internet. Colts signed safety and Andrew Sendejo and waive Chris Wilcox on the active roster. That's not worded right, but you get it. Zach Hicks, our buddy over at the Horseshoe Huddle, who maybe you'll follow the podcast, this week on Twitter. Zach made a comment. He's like, hey, I don't hate, Sendejo or anything like that, but the Colts, let a safety go to re-sign a safety, to let that safety go to re-sign another safety that's also not good. You know what I mean? It just seemed like unnecessary motion. This one, though, does add a little, veteran presence to the safety position. Listen, I don't much care about this move, but do you think that veteran status could have an effect?
I think that's what the Colts were looking for. The Colts do have a lot of young safeties in their stables right now, and they really need that calming veteran presence. And I think that's strictly what it was for, the signing, as a backup, as someone that can play on special teams, and a guy that's been in the league a long time. Because Julian Blackman and Kari Willis, each one of them played 100% of the snaps last week. They're going to do the same this week as long as they're not injured or anything like that. So, yeah, I think it was more bringing that veteran presence into the safety room.
Did we say, Andrew, we got a question. Is Eric going to sit out another week, or do you think he's going to play this week? He's in practice in team drills, I think, isn't he?
He was limited today, but they are ramping things up. He said to the media he feels good. And when you're talking, when you have players talking to the media, that usually means they're right around the corner to return. I honestly, my gut feeling, Eric Fisher plays on Sunday.
I would love that. I'd be happy with that. All right. Sorry to spend so much time on a safety that's not going to play. Colts sign guard tackle Anthony Coyle to the practice squad and release safety Sean Davis from the practice squad. The Colts are really, really active on the lower end of the roster with practice squad stuff every year with Chris Ballard. So that none of the stuff's like shocking. Is that it? We moving on?
That's it for the Colts news.
All right, Andrew. Week 2 picks. How did we do? Do you have the stats? Do we have the stats on Yahoo? I haven't figured out how to use Yahoo yet.
I'll get the stats. So Brandon did much better than I did. Brandon finished 8-8 last week for 50%. Hey. I was 6-10 at 38%.
Here's what happened this weekend, guys. Are you ready? So Andrew didn't believe in the Cardinals. I did. I believed in the Cardinals. And then when we were talking about the Raiders and Ravens with all the Ravens injuries, and then I was like, oh, it's in Las Vegas. First one was, first time with fans. What a football game. And I was right. Raiders win. What an absolutely insane finish to that football game. Let's talk about it. Okay. Goes in overtime. Let's skip everything that led up to overtime and start right here at the overtime. Raiders march on down the field. Huge pass. Looks like he maybe got in. I said, I think he was short. I'm in bed watching on my iPad at this point. Okay. And Paige is rolled over sleeping, and I'm losing my mind because I ended up betting big money, not big, but more money on the Raiders to win. And they get down to the one that he ended up being short. And then they throw an interception on third down after a false start penalty. They couldn't get the ball in the end zone. I'm like, oh, that's it. They're going to blow this because now the Ravens just have to go kick a field goal. Ravens, Lamar Jackson gets sack fumble on third down. Raiders recover. You don't have to go that far down the field. They run a play. They're already in field goal range. And last second, John Gruden decides, oh no, let's just send out the field goal unit. Uh-oh, time runs out. We don't have any timeouts. So then they bring the field goal unit back out because of the delay of game penalty. And then they just throw it down the field to a guy wide open. Touchdown, game over. I mean, it was a crazy football game. If you missed that game, YouTube it, do whatever you got to do to watch the end of that. That overtime was ecstatic.
It was a wild game, and what a way to open up the season with Monday Night Football. And then on top of all that, the Manning broadcast was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, it was great.
Watching Peyton and Eli go back and forth, giving each other a hard time, and then just hearing the nuances behind it. Peyton Manning talking about how the crowd was trained in Indianapolis to not say a peep when he was out there. All this other stuff. The guests of Charles Barkley, Ray Lewis, Travis Kelce, Russell Wilson. Which, by the way, Russell Wilson just kicked the Colts' butts, and then he comes on Monday Night Football, and I love the guy on there. I thought he provided great insight. He did a great job. If you're watching Monday Night Football and you're not watching the Manning broadcast, you're doing it wrong. That's what you need to watch for sure.
Yeah, it was great. I think they had a little bit of a growing pain trying to figure out what was the better route of action with the volume levels, just from, because I'm a big time producer now, Sports Illustrated, Horseshoe Huddle. We're in front of up to 10,000 fans, I think, could just click and watch us right now. I think between all the followers, no big deal. So I'm taking a look at the production value. It seemed like they were really drowning out the football game. I'm like, what if there's a penalty? I don't think I could hear what they call right now. So they did get that figured out. And as the game went on, I just kept falling more and more in love with that. I wish that was all 17 weeks. Unfortunately, I don't believe it is, but a lot of fun. If you missed it last week, watch it this week. Watch it you get it Monday.
Yep. They'll be
all
on
right.
Monday.
So what's the official results here, Andrew? What are the numbers for our picks?
So like I said, you were 8-8 this week at 50%. I was 6-10 at 38%. Not a good start. Not a good start, considering I think the first week last year we went like 13 out of 16 and 12 out of 16 respectively. So we need to pick it up this week.
Okay. Let's take a look. Tomorrow night or tonight, if you're listening to the podcast instead of watching us live, I picked the Dolphins, Tyler. Thank you very much. That would be me. I picked the Dolphins. I expected them to win by more than one, to be completely honest. But yeah, that'd be me. I picked them.
Yeah, sorry about that, Tyler. I didn't, and hey,
I also picked the Cardinals.
I lost it.
I also picked the Raiders. Just saying. I'm probably I have to look at the numbers here, but I'm probably pretty high up there on the stat sheet there, Andrew. Let's go. Week 1, Washington hosting the Giants. Andrew.
See, this one's tougher than what you would normally think because
everybody picked the Packers.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is hurt, and is either Tyler Heineke or Daniel Jones. I'm going to go with Daniel Jones. I'm going to pick the Giants. Everyone else is on the football team. I'm going to pick the Giants to win.
Heineke with a week of practice. I think he's going to pull off some playoff magic like he did last year, except get the win at the end of the day. Packers game was rough to watch. Everybody picked the Packers, I think. Tough. Moving along. Bears hosting Cincinnati. They've got like the @ on the wrong side. I hate this setup. Bears are hosting Cincinnati. I have, by the way, Washington football team's going to win. Sorry. After a week of practice with Heineke. Cincinnati. I'm picking Cincinnati over the Bears. They look good. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to give them a little respect.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bears, or I'm with the Bengals as well. I think Joe Burrow it seemed like they picked things up in the second half. So a lot more time with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Yeah, I think the Bengals start out 2-0.
All right. We both picked the Rams, but I'm still clicking the Colts. Sorry about you. Buffalo at Miami.
You skipped one. You skipped the Texans against the Browns.
Oh, Browns are going to just steamroll the Texans. I mean, absolutely steamroll the Texans.
We thought that last week, and they took a big dump on Jacksonville. But yeah, I agree.
No. I didn't think the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to just absolutely murder the Houston Texans.
I thought they were.
I just thought it was obvious. I thought it was obvious who would win, but like I didn't think it would be by a huge margin. This is going to be an ass whooping. Mark my words. Okay. So Rams, Colts, we both picked the Rams, but I'm picking the Colts on here just to have a different one from Andrew. Buffalo at Miami. Josh Allen's not losing 2 weeks in a row. I don't care how hot it is in Miami. I don't care. Sorry, Tyler, what you think Tua's going to do against the Bills? Not happening this week. The Bills are going to win that game.
Yeah, I think the Bills do bounce back. They got a little slice of humble pie against the Steelers, so I think they're going to try to take it to
Steelers were a
Miami.
surprise. That was a surprise. New England at the Jets. I'm going with the Patriots.
I'm going with the Patriots as well. I saw a stat that Zach Wilson faced 74% of his dropbacks. He was being pressured, so I'm going with the Patriots. And Mac Jones keeps it rolling.
Yeah, that's tough. What are we doing here? Safari. Okay. I accidentally clicked on the Patriots and stop doing that, Andrew. I'm just trying to make the pick. This Yahoo thing you set us up with. San Francisco at Philadelphia. Andrew, you first. Goodness gracious.
I'm going with the 49ers. They looked good for the first half, and the Lions tried to make a comeback. I mean, I was impressed by the Eagles. Dick Sirianni in his coaching debut just put a mollywhopping on the Falcons, but I'm going to go 49ers this week.
Our friend Heidi, I believe she's calling the Bengals LSU 2.0 probably. Did you see that really cool edit somebody put together that Field Yates put out?
I did not.
They found like an LSU pass to Lamar Chase and like touchdown that were really similar in the form and where it was on the field, and they kept flipping it back and forth from the Bengals to the LSU to LSU. It was really cool. You picked San Fran, right?
I did.
Okay, Philadelphia surprised us last week. They're not surprising us this week. Sorry, Nick. Pittsburgh is hosting the Raiders. Yeah, in Pittsburgh, I'm going with the Steelers. If this was in Vegas, I would think about the Raiders, but you're not catching the Steelers by surprise after what happened on Monday night.
Right. Steelers at home. That's my pick. I think there'll probably be a little bit of a letdown just from the big win in Las Vegas on Monday night. Steelers, I think, will take care of business.
Saints at Carolina. After what I saw, I'm not picking against the Saints till they do something real ugly and show us who they really are, maybe. But that might have been who they are. So Saints.
I'm going with famous Jameis. Let's keep it rolling. I think the Saints go to 2-0. Darnold goes to 1-1, and the Panthers, that offensive line for the Panthers, now they're getting that big test against a really stout Saints defense.
Jameis Winston will forever be on a short list of guys that threw over 5,000 yards in 16 games. Forever. and nobody else is going to be on that list anymore.
Right.
Arizona hosting Minnesota. Andrew. Wow, a lot of picks on the left side here.
Well, I'm gonna go with the Arizona Cardinals. The Vikings did not look good last week against the Bengals. I don't think it'll be a good showing for them this week against the Cardinals. Cardinals look good.
All right. Yes, Heidi was talking about that video, Andrew. Tampa Bay. Oh, Arizona. I'm picking Arizona, obviously. Minnesota. 2 years in a row being bad. Usually they're an every other year kind of team. 2 years in a row they're going to be bad. What?
You skipped another one. You skipped Broncos at Jacksonville. That one was before.
You know what? I'm not touching the screen until I make the pick because I keep skipping people if I'm making picks ahead of time. Trying to be proactive here. Denver at Jacksonville. Denver.
Yeah, I'm going with Denver as well, especially against that stout defense. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle again. Urban Meyer might be on his way out to USC anyway, so we'll see. But yeah, Denver gets the win.
Can I go on to Tampa Bay?
Go ahead.
Tampa Bay hosting Atlanta Falcons. Pick them. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. I every time I pick the Falcons, they end up just completely biting me. So
off on a bad start with the Falcons again.
Yeah, I'm going all on Tampa Bay.
Los Angeles Chargers against the Dallas Cowboys, Andrew.
I think this one's going to be a close game. I really do. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys, they showed something last week. They get Zach Martin back, which I think is good. I think it's going to be a shootout, that's for sure. Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott. It'll be a good game, but I'm going Cowboys.
think the Chargers are going to be kind of good. Dallas, though, after what they did, I mean, come on. And Dak Prescott can't throw the ball 58 times. I don't think he's going to have to this week. I think they get the run game going. I think Zach Martin helps with that. And yeah, I think the Dallas Cowboys are legit, unfortunately. Lost to Marcus Lawrence. That story of every year, if you ask me. DeMarcus Lawrence is out all the time. So
hey,
the defense isn't that great anyway. I just think they're going to outscore the Chargers.
Shout out to Seymour Squid. Seymour Squid is a loyal listener on Horseshoe Huddle. I was supposed to see Seymour Squid at the game and couldn't make it, but if he's there this weekend, hey, come on by our tailgate.
Seymour Squid, nice to meet you, pal. Glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Seattle at Seattle against Tennessee. If this were in Nashville, maybe, but what I saw out of Seattle last week, all day long, yeah, Seattle.
I mean, the Tennessee Titans gave up 5 sacks alone to Chandler Jones last week. Imagine what it's going to be like against the Seattle defense.
Is that a record?
Not a record. I think the record in one game's like 7 or something. But
I broke it on Madden a few times.
I mean, it's still a lot. So
yeah,
I mean, what the Seahawks did to a very stout Colts offensive line, I think Seattle's going to handle this game.
And again, I'm telling you that losing their offensive coordinator hurt them. Titans are in trouble. Which is good news because we're likely to lose this week too. Kansas City at Baltimore. Kansas City.
I think Kansas City is just going to have too much firepower, and the Ravens are just really injured right now. So I'm going Kansas City as well.
They're really injured, and I just and not in a it'll pick back up later this year. They're real hurt. I don't think they are going to be too good this year. Green Bay, time to rein it back in and take an easy win against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are really going to be hungry to put all the talk to bed about this team not being focused and all the distractions. I think they're going to handle Detroit pretty easily on Monday night.
All right, Andrew, what is next? News around the league. How many podcasts do you think call this segment News Around the League?
Probably all of them.
Probably the majority.
It works
not
out.
Not an original title. Don't care. Injuries around the league. That's really there's the news. Injuries. A Browns wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., knee, will miss second straight game. Cowboys defensive end, DeMarcus Lawrence, broken foot, out indefinitely. 49ers, this one stinks. 49ers running back Raheem Mostert opts for surgery on his knee, out for the season. I think I got him in 2 out of my 3 leagues. And he was an early pick in one of those. I was thinking Raheem Mostert was going to have a good year. He probably would have. That stinks. Giants tight end Evan Ingram, calf, will miss second straight game. And Raiders defensive tackle Jared McCoy, knee, out for the season. Week 1, not as brutal as it was last year, I don't think, but not great.
Yeah, so Odell, I mean, he's still working back from that ACL injury. He was close last week, so I'm a little surprised that they're saying he's already supposed to be out. DeMarcus Lawrence, I think that's a big hit for this Dallas defense because he is their best pass rusher. I'm right on with you with Raheem Mostert. I thought he was going to have a big year. Evan Ingram always seems like he's injured, and then Gerald McCoy out he had a knee injury last year that kept him out for the year. I think he'll probably be hanging them up soon if I would guess.
Put your pick of the week in the chat, guys. I want to know what people think is going to happen this week, and we're going to move on to here my segment. We like to call it Bad Beats with Brandon. Let's lose some money. So, of course, I've got one real big, long parlay for you. 15-game parlay. Let's start it out with the Washington football team at minus 170. Go ahead and over to the Cleveland Browns, minus 575. I almost took the points there, but I was like, big parlay. Let's just go with the money line. Saints, minus 3.5. I just go to the next pick and take the points on the very next one at minus 110. Cincinnati Bengals, upset, plus 125. Buffalo Bills, minus 190. 49ers, minus 170. Broncos, minus 275. Patriots, minus 260. Steelers, minus 265. Atlanta Falcons, plus 12.5. Atlanta Falcons plus 12.5. I don't think they can get beat as bad as they did 2 weeks in a row. Arizona Cardinals minus 195. Dallas Cowboys plus 155. Not favored in that football game. Seattle Seahawks minus 250. Kansas City Chiefs minus 190. And the Green Bay Packers minus 11.5. They're coming back for some. It's not even. Yeah, there are so many games plus and minus 3.5. This week, like I'm just looking at the spreads going, what is going on this week in Vegas? They don't know. We don't know. But yeah, the Packers are going to come back swinging for the fences. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do Aaron Rodgers things. Hey, I'm not done because first of all, I got to tell you the odds. That comes in at a big fat whopping. Why is it not showing me? Oh, that's incredibly frustrating. It's plus a lot. $10 bet gets you $15,168. Maybe this week's the week, Andrew. Oh, there it is. Does it show it there? There we go. Plus 151,586. Okay, same game parlay for tomorrow night. I was bored. Plus 3,500. I've got the Washington football team minus 3.5. Antonio Gibson, anytime touchdown scorer, under 40.5. And are you ready? This is the fun one. This is where I lose $5 probably. Taylor Heineke, anytime touchdown scorer. He's going to run one in. $5 bet pays out $180. I was bored. And then just Washington football team minus 3.5. $20 bet winning $39. And that, my friends, is Bad Beats with Brandon for the week. And we like to take Bad Beats with Brandon out on a positive note. Those of you who are new to the show, I make a lot of really crazy bets, usually just really big parlays, but just other bets as well that, I mean, just absolutely heartbreaking losses. But I'll do a 16-game parlay and lose one game, and it's always like the Seahawks against a team that they should murder, and they just get upset. Monday night, almost, the Raiders are down on the 1 yard line, can't punch it in. I thought, there it is, there's the bad beat, like the bad beat of the week, but no, not too bad. They actually won one. So I actually 2 parlays last week lost, but both of my single game bets won. So I actually came out positive $28 last weekend.
If you take the single game bets on Bad Beats with Brandon, you might make some money. Put them in a 16 game parlay, and oof, you're gonna have some issues. I didn't win. I think I made like 5 or 6 bets last weekend between NFL and college football. Lost them all. I am ice cold right now. So I'm gonna take some of those picks myself and see if I can get back on the wagon.
Alrighty, guys, that's it. Make sure to go follow our podcast accounts at A Colts Podcast, Instagram, Twitter. I think there's a herd of elephants upstairs with the dogs. Facebook, A Colts Podcast as well. It's like this is my first time wrapping up a show. Hey, if you're new, thanks for listening. If you've been around forever, thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on the alarm so you get all the notifications about when we're going live. Yeah, Andrew, you got anything to say?
I mean, we're both going to be at Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend. So if you're coming by the tailgate lot by the across the street, I should say, across the street from the Arby's down there, tweet at us. Come say hi. Come talk Colts football with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I really hope we're wrong on our predictions, and hopefully the Colts end up 1-1 this week. Yeah, go Colts. Sorry, we're negative Nancy's, guys. That's just kind of the way it goes when you're just trying to be honest with your fans. But thanks for listening, Andrew. Until next time, you know what I say. God bless you all. God bless football, and go Colts. Go Colts.